This episode was requested by one of the biggest babes I know, Emma from the Broke Generation. Go and listen to her podcast. She's amazing. She's hot. She's incredible. Her hair has been amazing this whole week. She's looked flawless. I feel that my life has been better sitting next to her and seeing her hair. So we have another mindset-based episode today, but what I'm going to do is we are going to infuse some strategy. Now, I'm going to say that this has been very much inspired by what I'm putting out there on Instagram, on stories. If you're not following me, what the hell are you doing? @professionalbabe, be there right now, about changing your state and how one of the worst things that we can do is to sit in the state that we hate. What I mean by this is if you're feeling like really stuck in comparisonitis, we don't want to stay there. And a lot of the time we'll kind of do things to stay in a particular state. And then we're wondering, like, why aren't we feeling better? Okay. So we need to actively do things to get out of that particular state. Now, what I want to talk about is today's episode, which is 5 times you need to change your state in business and how to do it. Now, this has been, again, inspired by a couple of things, but what I'm going to do is actually infuse the mindset piece and then with some strategy around it so that as this comes up and as everything always does, why do we have lag? That's not fun. Okay. As everything always does, I'm going to say it and then you get to experience it. So this is probably going to come up with you in the next week as it always does. So before we get into the thick of it though, you know that I always have stuff for you to buy. I have things for you to do. If you're not in my world, what are you doing? Now, the first is fun. It's free. We love a freebie. We love a hot freebie. Now, I don't want you to dismiss this. It's a quiz. And I know you might be like, oh, a quiz. I am a Virgo and I'm so Virgo. And the amount of Virgo science that has been put into this quiz will actually mean that you'll go through it and you will come out with a roadmap on all the things to fix in your business. So it's called How Hot Is Your Business? We look at 5 categories that you need to really master to be good at business and to have the business that you want. And if there are parts of your business, if you're feeling like, oh, it's just not really going well, or it's not moving in the direction or the speed that I would like, the results are not materializing, there will be like at least one of these categories that you need to particularly work on. So you answer 20 questions, how hot is your business? And then you'll get your business hotness score. There is also an opportunity to download, and we've actually renamed this. Don't you love when a typo works for you? It's called your business fame plan, aka your game plan. So all of these 5 categories I've given to you in a game plan. This is a Notion template, again, all free with a 30-minute masterclass as well, talking about these things. And then I also run through options as well about how to work with me. And I'm just going to add something there. You'll notice that I will continually sell. So just if you feel as though that you are just not selling, notice how I will continually do this through everything. And well, I believe it's not a super hard sell. Some people may have differing opinions, but then do they have the money that they want in their business? Yeah. So, make sure that you sell. Potentially use me as an expander because I'm always selling because my shit is good. And Business Bang is enrolling. If you love the strategy, if you love the mindset, if you want to be mentored by me, if you know that your business can be, bigger and better, have it feel better, have it really work for you, and probably break up with a lot of ideas that you have on how things should look, how they need to look, join this. It is well worth the investment. We kick off in April. Be there. All right. Are we ready? Are we excited? Are we going to get ourselves amped up? If you're feeling a bit funky, you are going to feel like a fucking goddess at the end of this episode. I'm so excited for you. I'm so excited for me because I love filming this. I love recording the podcast. All right. So 5 times you need to change your state in business and how to do it. Okay. The first is when no one is buying. Now, there is nothing worse when you feel like that you've put your whole fucking ass into an offer. You have put everything into something and it's just not working. Okay. We've all probably experienced this before. I know I have. And what can happen then? We really have like one of 2 options. And what I see happening is people want to burn their business down, or it's kind of like when you're dating someone and they're going hot and cold and they're in a period of cold and you are contacting them and you're like, what's happening? And you spiral and all of this shit happens. And we don't want that to happen in our business. We want to be so rock solid. Okay. So we need to change our state here because what I see happen with people is that they sabotage their business. They'll sabotage a launch. They'll do something like, discount, or they'll do something like, a weekend, they'll throw a bonus, or they'll do something like they'll have a fucking fire sale. This is huge. When I see people do like premium offers and then all of a sudden they're selling stuff that's like $7. But I know it, and things where I'm like, oh, I don't know if this is part of a greater funnel, but they're just doing things and I'm like, this feels a bit fire salesy, where are their actions responding to their current circumstance because they're so in the thick of the fire that they just want to do everything to escape. Now, what can be really good for you to do, and a couple of actions. When you are like feeling like that you are in this state, what was it? When no one is buying, I want you to zoom out, okay? Zoom out. Now, I use Stripe. So this is where if I was feeling this, I would go to Stripe and I would look at the last month and I would look at the month before and I'd look at the month before, I'd look at the whole year. And it would affirm to me, well, people are buying, okay? People have spent money. They are spending money in my business. So right there, I have evidence that people are spending. So what we need to do is add evidence into our evidence bag where we have more evidence that stuff is working. And sometimes the results just aren't here yet, okay? Something really awesome to remember is that, we have our wonderful sales pipeline. And if you have people paying attention, there are people in the pipeline. Now, it's up to us to get the right people in there that will eventually result in a sale. It's up to us to sell, and it's up to us to show up. So if you have people that you truly believe are your customer, if people are paying attention to you, and when I say that, if you have one person watching your Instagram story, they're paying attention to you, don't be dumb being like, oh, I only have 100 people watching my stories. People have less and they are doing more, okay? Snap out of it. So you've got people in there. The hard thing is when people are in the sales pipeline, it's not like a washing machine timer where we know when that timer is going to go off and a sale is going to pop out. They're in the washing machine with no timer. That is exciting. That's also terrifying. Now, why that's exciting is because you're going to have people that come into your world and buy immediately, but then you're also going to have people that probably take 4 times longer than you thought, okay? Everything is always going to be balanced. And this is, again, where we really need to control our state so that we don't have fire sales, that we don't make reactive decisions, okay? So what we want to do, we're really currently thinking micro because we're in it. We want to think macro. So how can you look at the bigger picture of your business? How can you look at, where you're going and how you're currently in the process there? Can you look at where you've come from and that people have paid you? Now, this may even serve as a realization if you have been here for a while that stuff potentially is not working. This is where I would recommend that you would work with someone to work out why that is. Is it an audience problem? Is it a messaging problem? Is it an offer problem? And it's usually something where if there's a small tweak, it will result in a dramatic result. For most people that I encounter, it's selling. One of the biggest blocks that they have is they are just not selling. This is why, of course, I love email, because we can automate it. That is the first step. The second one, when a bitch is doing better than you. Now, this is totally in my language, but there have been times, and this is usually brought on when something has happened, and this can really lead on from that first point. So I may be in a launch and stuff feels quiet, okay? And all of a sudden I see someone and they're doing better than me, and I really want to kick into comparisonitis, and we don't want to stay there. What we want to do is we want to invite comparisonitis in for a cup of tea. We see what's happening, and when we kick that bitch out. The reason we want to do this is if we invite comparisonitis in and we let it sit at the table for ages, it will take up resonance and we cannot get it to leave our house. And we'll come home and it's there. We don't want it to always be there. So I will say there is valuable data when you are activated by someone else, because there is usually something surrounding that, okay? So before we actually go and change our state, I want you to get curious on why. What is happening, okay? When you feel like that, you see what someone else is doing, if they're doing better than you, and you get really stuck in comparisonitis, what is beneath the surface? Now, I don't believe that we need to mute these people. It has been, I would say, a journey for me to really identify that a lot of the times when I was actually, like triggered by people, that they were actually a business expander for me that was highlighting something that I really, really wanted. Okay. But also, I have since realized that, sometimes when I'm activated by people, it's because I know that potentially the byproduct of their success has been building in a business that grates against my ethics, that I'm like, I know how they do things. I don't love that. And then I get activated because it's working really well for them. And that feels funny for me because my brain then goes to, well, does this mean that I'm going to have to do that to get that? Okay. So again, this comes back to, we just need some awesome stuff in our evidence bag. And we need to get curious on why this is happening, how it's affecting us. We stay there for a little bit, but we don't fucking set up shop. We have a cup of coffee there. And this can even be a really good reference point for you. If you are someone that tends to like sit with stuff and you basically play with the shit, you could even have this thing where whenever stuff is happening, and let's hope it's not happening 15 times a day, but just say something happens and you're like, oh, you could literally go and have a cup of coffee. And in the time that it takes you to have that cup of coffee, really set like a timer. So if it's 10 minutes, we set 10 minutes where we sit and we unpack and we focus on changing our state so that when the cup of coffee is done, when the beverage is done, we're basically like a bad bitch. We remember who we are, we remember what we're doing, and we can move forward, right? The reason we want to change our state as well is because we don't want our whole marketing and our business to then turn into this reactive marketing where we're responding to what we're seeing, or we're like, I saw this advice and this is terrible. And it's like, we're either so intimidated that we're in lack of action, or we're so angered that we then feel like that we need to pull this person down and use them and what they're doing and what we don't believe in as footing to then elevate what we're doing. Okay. The key here is to be so unbothered, because if we're bothering about someone else, we're forgetting about how awesome we are. Okay. And remember, sometimes when we're in the thick of it and the results are not here yet, it can be really easy for us to grab onto other things. But you have no idea what is happening right now in this moment for people to work with you. Someone could be reading your sales page right now and they could buy something. Someone could be trying to sell an offer because they actually want to work with you. Not everyone is going to communicate this to you. And what we don't want to do is finish the story. So if people aren't buying, we're like, oh, it's because we suck. Don't finish the story. You actually don't know why people aren't buying. It could be because they're making moves and they're doing stuff in the background that's actually going to serve you. So tell yourself a different story, change your fucking state. The third time is when you feel really stuck. Now, often we may realize that we feel stuck until we actually then feel stuck and realize that we've felt stuck for a month or 6 weeks or a long period of time, okay? So it's something that we can potentially be in, but it's going to be that we're going to have to go through it a lot for then to be like, oh shit, I've been here a while. So again, the first step is awareness. This can be a little thing where you put something in your diary to check in how you feel at the end of every day or the end of every week. It all starts with awareness, because when we have that, then from here we can make really different decisions and we can move forward. One thing I will say about when we feel stuck, I feel that because business now is so visible, it's really easy to pick up your phone, post a story, and share success. It can look like someone has done one thing, and then the next time we see them that we are still in the same spot, but they've somehow made $50,000. And then all of a sudden we feel stuck when we may not have felt stuck. And again, this really builds on from that point number 2. So we need to remember that we're never getting the full picture of what is happening for anyone. We don't know what they did to get there. We don't know if they spent $49,000 in Facebook ads. Like we don't know. So we don't want to create a story that actually disempowers us. One person that just helped me so tremendously with this was Brooke Castillo from the Life Coach School podcast. Brooke has a model, and it's all about like changing your thoughts and then having this cascade effect where you'll actually have a different result. And when I started to do this work, it was so interesting how I realized that I was really primed for negativity. And I was primed for terrible thoughts. And I was primed for thinking the worst case scenario. And at the time, I was always like, well, I'm just being realistic. And it's like, no, you're actually being a real negative bitch. Like, there's a reason that the delusional people do really well because they think really good thoughts that push them forward. You're thinking of stuff that actually really keeps you stuck and small. So if you are feeling stuck, this is where I would do like a little bit of a thought audit. It's also where I would start to really celebrate things and I would just acknowledge everything and everything that happens. So if you're not someone that does a to-do list where you can tick things off, this could be doing like a reverse to-do list. It could be doing things where you're actually writing everything down. Now, something that I get my clients to do, and this is something that you actually can purchase. I'll pop the link below. I have a $35 offering called Who Are You Becoming? Part one is an audit. And what I get my clients to do, and I've run this live a couple times on the call, is there's something where we have to write down like all the good. And I get them to write down 50 things. And I'm like, that feels like a lot. And then you might be like, oh, I might be able to do it. And then you'll probably stop around like 10. And then you'll be like, oh my God, but what else? And what we want to do is we want to look at like all the ways that we've actually grown, all the good that's happened, and all the things that we kind of like overlook. So, you may think that you're stuck, but you could actually be really growing in other aspects. Because often when we're talking about feeling stuck, this is usually it's not looking at everything. It's usually looking at one thing. And most people, it's either clients or it's sales or it's units sold. It's the smallest metric. And when we look at, the big picture of our business, we're looking at one thing. So, and I've been here. I've totally been here. There have been times when I'm like, oh, I feel really stuck because, we're kind of plateauing around the same income month, right? And it feels like it's happened for a while. But it's like, I don't want to get in my head that I'm stuck, forgetting that everything else that's happening in my business. So, for example, I had someone at the start of the year buy 2 programs. I messaged her and was so excited. And she said to me, oh, I'm so excited. I got some Christmas money and I invested with you. And I literally got tears in my eyes when I heard that. And I'm like, that is amazing. And how I may feel stuck, but again, there are people that are just in the background. They're making moves to work with me and to, purchase my shit, right? I may feel stuck, but I actually put something up that a year ago, I never would have posted that. Or I put something up and 6 months ago, I would have edited that or got someone to check that, where now I'm just walking up the street and I'm like, yeah, I feel fired up. Let me do this. I may feel stuck, but I'm showing up in a different way where past me may have not have done that. So what is really good here again is to just look at your journey of growth and how you may feel stuck in one small aspect of your business, but how in other aspects you are just growing tremendously. And this is where sometimes we need the habits for the results to follow. So you think of all the things that you're doing and how you're growing. These are going to be habits. These are now, and again, they're probably unconscious because you don't even think about it. So because that's unconscious, you're doing that on a daily basis, the results are just going to have to come. They 100% have to. Okay. Now, the caveat here is I'm going to assume that you have a good business plan and that you're working on stuff that's amazing. I've had clients where they have been in this. I've checked everything and I'm like, this is good. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Like it's all in motion. This is all going really well. So you don't want to run the risk of trying to make a bad business plan work or a bad offer work. Okay. So that is the caveat there. Now, the fourth time that you need to change your state is when everything is going wrong. I had this day at Pilates once where my phone kept breaking, right? And it would just shut off. And I remember one day it shut off. I missed my first Pilates class. I had to drive there. So I literally didn't turn up to work. I had to drive there. Everyone was frazzled. They were actually all fine, but my mum was like super stressed because she thought that something had happened to me. I parked my car, was like, okay, I've got to get my phone sorted. Went to my car. I had a flat tire. And I'm like, oh, this is really bad. I don't know if I had to get my car towed. I can't remember. because it was just not great. I then went to this tire place who wouldn't let me leave because like, all your tires are bald. Even though I've since found out this place is super dodgy. So I had to buy all new tires. I couldn't ring anyone because I just didn't have access to my phone. And then I had to sit there, pay all this money, and then go to Optus and get my phone. And it was just like one of those days where it was like one thing after the next, after the next, after the next. And what we don't want to do is anticipate that the next thing is going to be fucked, okay? Because in that moment, we're actively choosing for shit to happen against us instead of things to happen for us. And why we need to change our state is we don't want to be primed for focusing on negativity. Because what happens here is we then start to become immune to the awesome stuff that's happening in our business because we're looking to the negative. We're actively seeking it out. Now, I always think about the example from like Anthony Robbins, how he's like, look around your room and see something that's red. Look at all the red things. Look at all the red things. And then he's like, great, I bet you didn't notice anything that's blue. So when we're in this spiral of like life is turkey slapping me, I'm getting face fucked by life and it's not fun. I did not expect this face fucking, okay? This is not pleasant. We need to change our state because we want to make sure, if the positive is red and the negative is like green, we want to make sure that we're not like, oh, let me seek out the green because all of a sudden we're going to be immune to the red stuff. So what you can do, I would, in this instance, if shit's going wrong, I get up, I'd like stand up, I'd just shake my shit out. And I'd be like, great, yep, not your truth. You're going to have the best day. This content, this something else, this has just been like, and I would tell myself like some little story to make myself literally feel better so I could actually end the day in a better note. If I've had the worst day, and it's 5:00, I don't condemn the rest of the day. That's just dumb. I don't be like, oh, tomorrow's going to be a better day. Nah, bitch. I can literally take a breath, have a sip of water, and the next minute I can have a better day. Okay. So we don't want to write off our life because that is just stupid. Okay. If we're lucky to be alive, then let's make the most of it. So I would just do something to make my day better. Now, depending on where I am, depending on what I'm doing, I could just be like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm going to close my laptop. I'm going to take myself out for cake and coffee. I'm going to do something. I'm going to do something to kind of shift the energy and feel better. I'm going to put music on, not sad shit. I'm going to put on something positive. I'm going to put on something that's just going to lift my energy. All right. I'm not going to sit in the state that I hate. So if there's one thing that you take away from this whole thing, do not sit in the state that you hate. Now, the last one, you may be doing this, not realizing that you're doing it, and how this actually works against you is you are like fake positive for the future because you don't believe it. So you're like, oh yeah, everything's like, it's going well. Or yeah, I just can't wait for things to get better. Right? And we're doing it, but we're doing it from this like helpless energy. Like, oh, I'm a damsel in distress and I'm just waiting for my business to get better. Well, I'm sure like next year's going to be a better year. Oh, it's like next month is just going to have to be good. And the reason we need to change our state is it's like we're continually surrendering without the action before the surrender. Okay. It's almost like we've given up. We've given up and we're just waiting for things to change. Like, oh, I'm sure it'll be better. I'm working towards this. Like it just has to. And I have done this and I didn't realize how at the time it's like I was fake positive. I was like, yep, the future's going to be great. Next year's going to be great. But I actually did not believe it. And then there was nothing behind my action against this like very weak, lukewarm, like positivity, which wasn't really fucking positivity. You can tell if someone, how they feel by the energy around the words and what they say. And, if anyone's like, you can, and again, it's a thing where when you experience it in yourself, when you see it in other people, you'll be like, oh my God, I get it. Where it's almost like there's this real helplessness around the future or like, oh, it just has to get, yeah, like that. No, don't do that. You have to believe it, right? Believing without actually seeing things here is a skill that will serve you in so well. We can look at business, we can look at entrepreneurship and how people will back their vision. They will back it with their money, knowing that it will work out. And this is, I think, why with some of my clients, it's so interesting. And I'm this person as well. For me to get results in my business, I usually if I want a big push, I have to invest. I have to actually part with money because there feels something really definite there that I am backing my vision. So, I want to level my brand up a bit. And I'm like, great, do a photo shoot, book all of this stuff, organize a photo shoot, put some money aside and actually back this. Don't wait for the perfect time. Bring the perfect time to you. So what we can do when we change our state here is, I think this is where we need to give us a bit of a slap. And remember that people can tell us how amazing it is, but we really have to believe it. We 100% have to be our biggest cheerleader. When I started this business, when I started actually all of my businesses, I didn't really have the most positive people around me. I remember when I was doing email strategy for clients, and that was my number one service, and then I was doing coaching. I remember going into Facebook groups and how hard it was for me to see everyone else's clients shout them out, and I was the one putting my hand up. So they're like, do you have recommendations for this? And I'm putting my hand up, and it felt like that I was doing that forever. And how, I had to really put myself forward and cheerlead for myself, knowing that, I can't just be like, oh, I can't wait for the day that my clients do that. Great, bitch. Where's your clients? Where are they? Clients can't shout you out if you don't have them. So this is where you have to put yourself first. If next year is going to be a better year, what are you doing to make next year a better year? If you hope that next month's a better month, what are you doing? You hope that you can purchase in the future. What are you doing? Now, you can see how much, why I mentioned here that this is a state change, because if you're in that energy without the action, you're going to be fucking in the same spot in 6 months. You're going to be there and that is going to be your permanent. And if you do not like where you are right now, what are you doing to change? We need to remember that we are basically the sum of every decision that we've made and how we've responded to things. I don't want to say circumstance because, we're humans living life. There is so much out of our control. But what we can control is really how we respond to things. I've had some fuck stuff happen to me in life and in business. And people probably meet me and they're like, you have such a positive outlook. And this just has not been from perfect circumstance. This has been from intentional choice. This has been from intentional action. And every day I wake up and when people ask me how I am, I respond based on how I desire to feel and how I wish that I was. I don't respond to if I've had a bad sleep. Oh, I'm tired. No, I'm fucking fabulous. I'm so excited to be alive. How lucky am I that I woke up and that I'm me? And you can again see here how there are little things that we do that just continually affirm this state. And when we're in that, how that is just going to keep bringing the business that we have now in the future. So if you want a radically different business, what are you going to do today, right now, in the next 10 minutes to give you a radically different business? How can you shift your energy to then, translate into action? So what action then are you going to take from this new state, and how can you keep that in motion? Do this, you'll have a different business, you'll have a different life. So hot stuff. I've loved this. I've loved you. And I'm so excited. We are going to be going for 2 episodes a week. I've also found out why I'm having tech issues with everything. I didn't realize my MacBook Pro is from 2015. Everyone is like, I can't believe that it still works. I'm like, yeah, I look after things. Of course it does. I don't go, this is so funny. I don't buy Apple thinking, oh, it's going to break. I'm like, yeah, this is a good computer. It's going to last forever. Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny? So if your stuff keeps breaking, different mindset. So I loved this. I've loved you. I know that you'll get a lot out of this episode. I think some of you may feel bitch slapped. Some of you may feel inspired. And I think that some of you may need a second listen. So it is fucking beautiful outside. It's Venus Day. It's Friday. I love a Friday. Tuesday is better, I will say. So I love you more than Tuesday. Let's start there. I love you more than the fact that I'm in my fucking beautiful bed. My bed is immaculate. Mustard gold velvet, custom made. Best decision ever. I remember when I got this and then the sales associate was like, what about cream linen? And I'm like, I would rather never wake up. I want an obnoxious bed with white sheets. So I love you more than that. I love you more than the beautiful bra that I'm about to go and pick up. It's this gorgeous like apricot pink, stunning, makes my tits look fucking amazing. I don't even want to wear a shirt when I'm wearing it. So I'm so excited to go and pick that up. I have it in black. I was like, I want that peach color. They're like, we only have sizes to small boobs. I'm like, I'm packing titty. I need a bigger size. So they've ordered that in for me. Love that. Love that personalized service. If you are in Melbourne, Kitty K Lingerie, they're incredible. Tell them Peter sent you. Every time they're like, oh, someone came in. You always refer the nicest people, so you can't go if you're a jerk. That's the only caveat there. I love you more than my little espresso cups. This is my like little morning ritual. I make up and I have a shot of coffee. I know that the health people will be like, oh, you need your sunlight and you need this. And it's like, oh, bitch, just let me be happy, right? Let me be happy. I do everything else for my health. Just let me be happy. So I love you more than that. I love you more than my cute mom. She's actually relocated to Victoria from New South Wales. At 70 by herself, I actually found her place for her, looked at everything. So I was a bit stressed, but she's moved down here and she calls herself like Uber Jan. So I'm a pedestrian. I walk everywhere. I actually don't have a license at the moment. Not because I've done something dodgy. In Victoria, do you know weird it is to like get everything changed? In New South Wales, you just turn up and you take a ticket and you can do everything. I have an appointment in May. So I technically have an expired license. And not that I drive anyway. I feel like it's not on brand for me unless I have like a sexy Porsche or like something like a hot car, right? But my mom is driving me everywhere. Uber Jan. So I love you more. I was going to say I love you more than Uber Jan. I don't love you more than my mother, but the Uber Jan title, right? Love you more than that. Anyway, hot stuff. How fun was this? Go and make some money. If you want to change your state, go sell some shit. Go unapologetically sell your shit. Be like, this is so good. This is 10 grand. Pay me for it, right? You'll probably activate some people who be like, oh my God, I can't believe she's like that. Send them love and light, okay? Send them love and light. They're only activated because they wish that they had your balls to do the thing that they're not doing.